online. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, my heading today is Fantastic Realtors. And I know this is going to be a fantastic year because I know that everything we do basically starts inside of you. And if you can get your thoughts in order, if you can get yourself focused, if you can know what your roles and responsibilities are in the real estate industry, it's going to be so much easier to align yourself to what's required of you. So my heading today is Fantastic Realtors, and it says real estate agents who know their role and responsibilities will be positioned for more focused success. And what do we really mean about that? So often we enter the industry and we come in and we hide as a salesperson, and we look at the commissions from the newspaper and we just think this is going to be so easy. And all of a sudden, a month or two later, the tacky hits the tar and the reality sets in. And what I'm trying to do is sort of put the cart before the horse. And in other words, let you understand what is required of you, what is your role, what is your responsibility in the industry. And with that knowledge, I believe that you can take the next step. I think it's going to make a big difference to you. Your participation in today's session shows that you are resolute to succeeding in real estate. And my hope for you in this session is to impart just enough information to you that could potentially change the way you view the real estate business. And this is my promise to you. In the next 45 minutes, I'll introduce you to 2 aspects of yourself that you may not have known, and 4 real estate responsibilities that are so important for your success. Some of these you may be aware of and some not. So this morning together, we're going to firstly differentiate between a role and responsibility, and then we're going to look at a little more carefully at the 4 different responsibilities of a professional real estate agent. Now, I'm sure if I asked you who was a professional real estate agent, you'd all put your hands in the air. So if that's you, this session is for you. And I'm going to refer to these responsibilities as the Fantastic Four. Hence, you'll see that I'll use a couple of animations to make this presentation a little bit more exciting. So please take notes and save the questions to the end. I'll also make these notes available to Quibus via WhatsApp. And so let's go. So let's get going. So Thomas Jefferson said, "Nothing can stop the man with the right mental attitude from achieving his goal. Nothing on earth can help the man with the wrong mental attitude." So this is all about your mental attitude. This is all about your mindset. It's about how you are going to tackle the challenges that you have in real estate. And let's face it, real estate is not an easy business. When we get new agents coming in, we explain to them exactly what's expected of them. We explain to them exactly what the challenges they can face. And that way they've got a great view of their future and also what to do. So I want to talk this morning about roles and responsibilities. And this is something that in your sort of more corporate environments where you're employed for a specific job, usually there's a role and there's a responsibility. And your role really talks about your position on the team or your position to which you were hired. Now, I'm going to assume this morning that every one of you were hired to be real estate agents, which means that you're sales agents, and the role that you're hired for is to sell property and to negotiate and sell those listings that you get. So what is your role this morning? If you're watching this, you're an old agent, and this has never been said to you, well, your role is to sell. The second thing is that role comes with responsibilities. And this is where we talk about your tasks and your duties. And there's a definite differentiation between your tasks and your duties and your role. So this will pertain to your specific job description. Just really in a summary, if you look to the left, you'll see that your roles refer to one position on a team or the position for which you are hired. So you're hired as a estate agent, but as an estate agent, you've got responsibilities. Your managers, me as a manager, I look to see, okay, so we've got so many new interns, what are their responsibilities? And in that, I have to clearly define what their tasks and their duties are for their specific role or job description. Nothing worse than being employed as a salesperson and not actually understanding what your tasks and your duties are. So what are my responsibilities as an estate agent or an real estate professional? Well, there are numerous, and normally in an open session, I would ask the audience for a response over here, but time permitting, I'm not going to be able to do that today. But you do have responsibilities, and I'm going to introduce you to 4 characters, which to me are sort of symbolize what we are and who we are out there. And I've called them the Fantastic Four. Why? Because if you're an estate agent today in this economy, in this country, you're fantastic. But there are 4 things that I'd like to bring to your attention today, and this is to do with your responsibilities. And we're going to be talking and we're going to be looking just closely and briefly at the different responsibilities that you have as an estate agent. If you can get this right, if you can understand and take this away with you today, you will be a better agent and you'll be positioned for greater success. Because these responsibilities that these 4 characters represent need to all be inside of you. Okay, so let me introduce you to the Fantastic Four. And of course, we've got the Invisible Woman, and she's the planner. We've got the Thing, which is the prospector. Why? Because you've got to be tough to be a prospector. And guys, that's really, and you'll see a little bit later in the presentation, I'll highlight that as one of the key functions that everybody has to have in play. So we're gonna look at that, and then of course Mr. Elastic, which is also called Mr. Fantastic. Now, guys, I know that you're all as good looking as these folk over here, but Mr. Fantastic, he's the negotiator. So there's a part of you that needs to have negotiation skills, and of course the Human Torch, which is the closer. So I've used these 4 characters, these 4 Marvel characters, to symbolize or to reiterate what I believe an agent should be. So you take all 4 of them, and what have you got? You've got a Fantastic Four within inside of you. So we're going to be looking at the Invisible Woman. She's the planner, and what is her responsibilities? What is the Thing's responsibilities? The prospector and the Mr. Elastic, who's flexible, but he's also fantastic, and of course the Human Torch, which is the closer. So this is where we're going to be taking the meeting this morning. And I want to kick off this morning with the planner. And as you guys know, that every single year Quibus sends out the fierce intent for you guys to start your planning. And this has to be part of every agent's responsibility. Every agent is responsible for his own planning. If you're in an office where there isn't much planning or there isn't much emphasis on planning, you've got to take that responsibility to plan your way ahead for your year. Because if you don't have a road map, if you don't know where you're going, then of course, as they say in the old cliche, is any road will do. So let's look at this lovely lady over here, and she represents the planner. She's the Invisible Woman. I wrote there, whoa man. That's what Adam said when he saw Eve. He said, whoa man. And that's where I believe her name came from. So we've got the Invisible Woman. She's the planner. What is her responsibility in terms of her being a real estate agent? Well, her responsibilities is clarity of visions and goals. These have to be very clear. They have to be written down, and they have to have outcomes within a specific time. So for most of you, that if you do know it or don't know it, that the Harcourts financial year, where we look at your turnovers and your commissions, we look from the 1st of April to the end of March. So you basically got 12 months in which to achieve your goals, to reach some of your visions. She's responsible for the why, the when, the how, and the where. So some of her key responsibilities is planning and communication, managing the database, the client database. Every one of you, every new client, every new prospect, every new buyer, every new seller needs to go into a database. And of course, we've got H1 for that. So I'm not going to be discussing the tools today, just the responsibilities. I'm just trying to stay focused. And of course, the planner stays accountable to the goal. So that means that regularly, maybe on a weekly or a monthly or every 3 months, is to look and say, are we on track? Am I on track with my goals? I wanted to earn $1 million this year. It's 3 months down the line. I've got nothing in the pipeline. What do I have to do? So then I go back and I look at my goals. I look at my planning. I look at my database, but I need to stay accountable. So the planner within you is responsible for accountability. And of course, they also focus on getting referrals. So how do you get referrals? Well, you do a great job. You look after your clients, and that after customer care satisfaction is what's going to give you referrals in the future. 80% of all your business should be coming from past clients and referrals from those past clients. If you haven't got that right yet, then this is an area that you're going to need to focus on. So that's her responsibilities. But what are her super skills? So I'm going to introduce you to another part, and that's the super skills. What do you need to have in order to be a planner? Well, your super skills here is you've got to have planning skills. You've got to be able to delegate. You've got to be able to focus, and you've got to remain accountable. So these are the super skills you need to be a planner, and this is possible for everyone to take on this super skill and to be that person. And of course, Quibus gives us every year faithfully, and thanks again, Quibus, he gives us the fierce intent, and in that you will find the how, the why, the where, the when, and how do we break it down. And every one of you have access to this either via H1 or via your office or via your manager. And I strongly want to encourage every one of you that if you haven't yet done the fierce intent, you need to complete this document, put it in your file, talk to your manager about it. Managers, you need to be talking to your agents about it, holding them accountable. And this is where you as the agent get the opportunity to put down the figures that are realistic for you in the time frame that you have in the field. So a powerful document, and I believe we're one of the few companies that actually have this. So your super skill here is really your planning, your delegation, your focus, and your accountability. If you can achieve these three and take on these three characteristics, you're going to really be in line to become a super agent. And of course, our next guy is the one that nobody really wants to identify with, and yet it's an absolute crucial part of our business, and that is the prospector. And you'll see there that I've given him 5 stars, and I've given him a tough look. Because guys, I know, and you know, and I know that my interns that are watching this today know that prospecting is tough in the beginning, but it becomes an absolute joy down the line. And this is a proactive role. And this is where you should be as an estate agent, be spending 80% of your time out in the field. If you're spending 80% of your time in the office, you're going to get 80% of the office results. If you're spending 80% of the time in the field, you're going to get the field results. So this is a proactive role. This is the one that requires hair on your chest, or to look like this guy. So on the inside, when you go put on your prospecting shoes and you're hitting the roads or you're making those phone calls, this is the look that you need to have on your face. Because it's not easy. But it's incredibly rewarding. So the prospector's role is ultimately prospecting. That's canvassing for new opportunities. This is door knocking. This is managing your farming area, and every one of you should have a farming area by this time of the year. They're also responsible. The prospector is also responsible for communication and contact. In other words, that's the front line. That's where you're increasing your back line, and you're taking more territory, more and more and more. You also have to handle the inquiries. You have to stick to the goals that you've done in your planning session, and you also provide continuous feedback and follow up. So you need to gauge yourself in the week. I set myself, and I know we've got our own Quibus in our office, and he sets the targets for the guys. And on a Monday, they have to account for what they've done in the field. So you need to hold yourself accountable. Ultimately, we as managers want you to be accountable, but you've got to hold yourself accountable. And of course, you need to be flexible to change and challenges. We've just come out of COVID. It was impossible or very difficult to go out and prospect, but that's all changed. So all of you should be flexible now and say, listen, let's use this time. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but let's use this time to go out and prospect and to build our business. As Joe Biden says, build back better. We've got an opportunity to do that now in the season while the sun is shining. So this is a proactive role. This is the one that you have to have and spend time. If you haven't got the skills for this yet, you need to develop the skills. And I'll share a little bit later how and what we do with our agents. And of course, what are the super skills for the prospector? Well, time blocking. And that's a whole different subject on its own, but it takes time blocking. One of our values is courage. It's going to take courage. You've got to be consistently out there. You've got to go and get new listings. You've got to follow up. You know, we've been knocking on doors for the last couple of months, and we get so many queries, and it's so easy to fob off this one and say, oh, that was just a rental query, or that was just a bond query, or that was just a general query, and we don't go back and we follow up. The role of the prospector is to follow up. A prospector is also a good listener, and every one of you need to be good listeners. And I know I have to gauge myself there, is that I'm looking for the answer before the person's given me the question. And I've had to train myself just to remain quiet, to look like that little deer with the flappy eyes, and just to listen, because I'm listening for cues. Are they looking for a rental? I don't want to go and do a price presentation. They're looking for a rental. I don't want to do a price proposal if they're comfortable and happy where they are. But what I'm doing is I'm making contact, and it's those contacts that are going to produce fruit for you in time. So you need to be a good listener. That's a super skill of a prospector. And of course, and my own Quibus at our office will appreciate this, but you've got to know your scripts and your dialogues. And there's different scripts and dialogues, guys and ladies out there. You've got your introductions. You need to be proficient in your scripts and dialogues. And this is absolutely key to being a successful prospector. I think half the time that we have fear, or you have fear when you go into the field, is because you don't really know what you're going to say. And so you're winging it and you're shooting from the hip. And of course, that becomes awkward in different situations. But if you know your scripts and your dialogues on how do I introduce myself to the area, to a new client, how do I knock on the door and not ask them, do you want to sell your property, but introduce myself and just ask them if there's any requirements. You need scripts and dialogues for that. If you're looking at for sale by owners, if you're looking at enemy stock or expired listings, there are very, very specific scripts and dialogues. And I know that the Harcourts handbook is full of these scripts and dialogues. And I'm sure if you talk to your manager, you'll find that they've got scripts and dialogues. And if you need more scripts and dialogues, between Quibus Kruger and myself, we've got tons of scripts and dialogues. And this is an area that we spend a lot of time with our agents, so that when they go out and they knock on a door, they know what to say. And I think that reduces the fear already. And if we just quickly look at what Dale Carnegie said, most of the important things in the world have been accomplished by people who have kept on trying when they seemed no hope at all. And this is very profound in our industry, because you can be door knocking for a day and become very successful. You could knock for a week and have nothing. You could knock for 2 weeks. You could make calls for 2 weeks and have nothing. But the important things in the world have been accomplished by people who have kept on trying. So I want to encourage you, as challenging as prospecting may be in the beginning, and I promise you this, guys, I've seen my agents when we go out in the field, and Quibus and myself go out with them, is that in the beginning they're terrified. The first door knock, the second door knock, the third door knock. But by the fourth and the fifth, the confidence is improved by 30 to 40%. And if we send them out a week later and they just keep trying, the results start coming, and their confidence goes from 30% to 60% to 80%. So I want to encourage you, don't stop trying, because otherwise the important things aren't going to happen to you. And of course, the next criteria that you need to have is you need to have negotiation skills. Now, this doesn't mean you've got to go on a course or go back to varsity to become a negotiator. This just really means that inside of you, you need to be you need to have negotiation skills. You know, you can be planning and prospecting and then fail at the point of where you now need to decide which direction to take this client in. So this is a soft and a confrontational role. So it means that you have to actually speak. This involves following up from prospecting. So you've been knocking on the doors. You go back, you load everything onto your computer. You take a review of what you've done for the day or for the week. And now you've got to make those calls. You've got to follow up on the dear old lady that's sat with the poodle and wants a valuation for a house. You've got to talk to the gentleman whose wife has just died and he wants to sell his house. So your negotiator is actually the follow-up guy. The prospector, he's focused on prospecting. He's focused on just getting the names because he's lining their stuff up according to the planning and the goals. But also here, he selects the right course of action. So this is very important, and this is where I see a lot of our agents struggle in the beginning until they get this revelation. But you need to select the right course of action for that client. Does this client get a marketing proposal? Is this a client for a pricing proposal? Is this just an appraisal and a marketing proposal, or is this an appraisal with a price proposal? You as the negotiator need to decide what is the best course of action for this client. And so many times I've seen people just have an inquiry and my agents kick into sell mode and they lose it at that point because their client's intention was never to sell now or even later, and yet we already given them a pricing proposal and then we move into the marketing. So again, this takes a lot of discretion and a lot of discernment. The negotiator is there to build trust with the current or the future clients, and he considers what's best for the client. Should this client be waiting? Should this client be staying? Or should this client be selling? There's definitely a notion out there that if I'm door knocking and somebody opens the door, they've got to sell, and I'm going to ask them the question: do they want to sell, or are they considering selling? And that should be the very last question that you're asking in this new world of where people are just so sensitive. And remember that the market owes us nothing. You have to earn the right to be able to sell a property. So when you knock on the door, yes, you're going to get lucky at times, but most of the time it's going to be a process that these people are going to be in your sales funnel, and some of them they're going to wait, some of them are going to stay, and some of them are going to sell. But remember, from every one of these categories, you should be getting referrals. If somebody knows you, they like you, and they trust you, they're going to give you referrals. So if you try and take them into a sell mode when actually the dear old lady shouldn't be selling at all, and you try and sell a property, you're going to lose her trust. Remember, the negotiator is part of the trust process. So what is the super skill of the negotiator? Well, you must be a clear communicator. Be clear on your intention, be clear on the reason that you're visiting them, be clear on the reason that you want to help them. And always, as FNB once said, how can we help you? I do believe when you go with that attitude into the market and you clearly communicate that, how can we help you? People are going to open up their doors, they're going to drop their guards, and they're going to let you in. You always need to get permission to assist. All right, so Mrs. and Mr. Jones, thank you. I knocked on your door the other day. You said that you needed a bit of help. How can I help you? Again, the F&B philosophy. Get permission to assist. If they say, you know what, Quibus, we really don't know where to go from here. We don't know what the house is worth, but our medical bills are climbing. But yes, we give you the permission to communicate with us. This negotiator needs to listen for needs. They need to be patient. They need to have problem-solving skills. In other words, I'm trying to find a solution for my client. I'm not trying to find a solution for the bottom line of my commission. That's going to happen as a result of solving the client's problem. I also need to be flexible. In other words, if the client is not ready or it's time to wait, we need to be flexible in that, and we need to be able to keep in contact with them while they work through that process. So we need to be flexible. We use gentle persuasion, and the negotiator, and this is so important that you understand this, the negotiator creates the path between the parties to close for a three-way win. All right? So you're not going to be able to close unless you've created a way in order to close. And let me just explain to you the three-way win. So Stephen Covey came up with the saying win-win. Whenever you're in negotiation or in communication with somebody, there always needs to be a win-win benefit. So the person communicating a need and the person communicating a want or a solution, there needs to be a win-win solution in that. But I've had a look at this, and I thought there's room for a third-way win in real estate, which means every successful transaction, and remember, ultimately the goal is to close the transaction successfully, but you want a happy buyer, a happy seller, and this is the third win. You want a happy agent. You need to feel as though that this was worth your while. You don't want to go and sell a property for 1% or 2%, but the seller got his price and the buyer got what they wanted, but you sold it at 2% commission. That's not a three-way win-win. So a successful transaction starts with negotiations, your clear communication at the front, permission to assist them, patient, looking for the problems, and that way, at the end of the day, when you sell that property, the buyer's going to be happy at the price he paid, the seller will be happy for what they got for their property, and the agent will be content with the commission that he took. And if you did a great job, you should never have to sell the low commission. Full stop. But that's really your negotiator. And if you don't, and if you fail at this point, you're not going to get to the closing stage. Something I also noticed out of interest, and I want to share this with you, and we've got so many tools that it actually becomes confusing for the agents. And this is a separate course which I take through my interns through. But when you're out in the field prospecting and negotiating, you have different tools. You've got appraisals, you've got pricing proposals, you've got marketing, you've got your buyers, your complete property buyers guide. That's for your buyers. You may knock on the door, they're tenants and they're potential buyers. Or you've got someone that's already with another agency and you've got a complete selling guide. But these are all different tools. And here's my challenge to you guys. You should have a copy of this when you go out prospecting, and this is going to give you confidence again because you can move into 5 different areas. You need to have a copy of every one of these in your folder, and you need to be looking for an opportunity to present any one of these. Now, what I've seen so often is that somebody is just inquiring, and the agent moves into a pricing proposal, or somebody's not interested in you and you're already working on a marketing proposal. Now, what's interesting is in a lot of companies, and I also couldn't see the distinction between it initially, although Harcourts South Africa makes it very clear. I've noticed that especially the new agents, they don't see the distinction between these 5 different tools or these 5 different sets. And these 5 different sets of documents represent 5 different types of clients for you. Some just want to know about your company. Some actually want to know their price. Others, and the price proposal you're going to use if somebody wants to go to market. Appraisal you can use either way, whether they just want to know the price of their home, and that's often your strongest tool when you're prospecting. And of course, some of them just may want a seller's guide. You go to an enemy stock, the red company is selling the house, the mandate has just been signed, you missed the opportunity, but nothing stops you from giving them a selling guide. So it's probably something that the other agent hasn't given them. What are you trying to do? Through soft persuasion, you're trying to slowly persuade the client to look at your services when they need it in the future and if something goes wrong. And of course, you've got your buyer's guide. So often we knock on doors, we meet tenants. They're not interested, but they might be in the process. Yeah, you've got an opportunity to show them how do you get into the market as a first-time buyer. How do you get back into the market if you haven't been in the market for a couple of years? And this, of course, is where Uber comes along, or your bond originator. You're going to use this. So here are 5 different tools that need to be used on 5 different occasions. So you as the estate agent need to discern which one to use and which tool to use. If you're going in with marketing and they want to sell, obviously there may be an opportunity where you might have to merge your marketing and your pricing, or your appraisal and your marketing. Sometimes there is a room for both, or to merge them. But but what I'm trying to say is that don't use the wrong tool for the wrong moment. And I just want to quickly show you something I put together for my agents. A marketing proposal and a price proposal is like a saw and an axe. If you're chopping down a tree, some trees need a saw and some trees need an axe. And this you may not know, and you can see it from my screen over here. The marketing proposal content includes the following, and the emphasis is on the client empowerment and brand competency. So your marketing proposal is very different. And I don't know about the other branches, but we've got this little table of contents in the front of our book, which sets the agenda, which helps us to understand the situation, getting to know the market. There's more to price than opinion, successful pricing principles, etc., etc. And there's 12 points there. But if you flip to the right and you look at the price proposal, this emphasis on the client's ability to choose the most competitive price position in the current market. This is where you're taking him down the line before you get the listing and you want to go to market at the right price. The emphasis of the marketing and the emphasis of the price proposal are basically, they ultimately will achieve a very similar or the same results, but they're used differently. And if you and this is your role as an estate, your responsibility as an estate agent is to distinguish between when do I use them together and when do I use them separately. Because if you mix these up, if you're using a saw where an axe should be needed or an axe where a saw is needed, you're gonna confuse the client and you're gonna look incompetent. And none of us are incompetent. So that's why I'm making these clear distinctions for you today. I hope that helps. And then Confucius said this: it does not matter how slow you go as long as you don't stop. So that's really, when you're going into the field, when you're meeting with lots of clients, at the end of a typical week, let's say you've spent 3 hours a day, 4 days a week, that's 12 hours in the field. You're going to have a whole lot of different clients. You're going to have a whole lot of clients that any one of these opportunities can be given to them. And what do? You're really just connecting, making contact, solving a problem, and building your database for a future time. This is all part of your sales funnel. But the big thing is don't rush it, go slowly, but the big thing is don't stop. And of course, once you've now successfully planned and your prospecting is kicking in and you're starting to meet clients, and eventually you get this listing, the listing goes to market, and the house then gets sold, you have to become the closer. So you've got your planner, your prospector, your negotiator, and your closer. And all 4 of these qualities need to be part of what you do on a day-to-day basis. So the closer, this is the finalization of the goal. You set a goal, you've got an opportunity to sell. This is all interlinked. So the finalization of the goals, this is where you ensure your future contact. In other words, the client's not ready to sell now, but I'm closing him to stay in contact with him. I've got his permission to stay in contact with him. I priced the home correctly. The closer needs to be able to know when to close. He ensures that the new mandates and new listings are coming in. He's closing that. He's putting it on paper. And of course, ultimately, and this is where every one of you new guys will get to if you're not there already, but that's the closure of the offer to purchase between a willing buyer and a willing seller. And if you've been through these steps, you've planned, you've prospected, you've negotiated correctly in the client's interest, and now you're closing, you will have a 3-way win for all your parties. And closing skills you'll also get them in scripts and dialogues. There's a time to close, and we often talk about the power of the pause. So often in real estate, when you're closing a client, you tend to talk yourself right out of the sale, or you talk yourself out of a situation. I remember going with one of my younger agents, and the client said he wanted to sell his property for 3.9 million. We had an estimate in our head that it was potentially worth about 4.2, 4.3. And the client looked at us and said, listen, I want to go to market. He'd done his homework at 3.9, and the agent said, no, we can get you a lot more for that. Let's consider 4.2. Now that's where the power of the pause would have been very effective. He would have paused and said, I think that's an excellent position to take, Mr. Seller, and I think we'd be able to sell it quite quickly based on what you've already assessed. So you compliment him, but you keep quiet and you go in that direction. So the closer is somebody that doesn't talk too much. They're listening for cues, they're closing at the right time, and they're using the power of the pause as often as they can. So the closer also has super skills. Let's just look at those. You must know when to close. If a client says to you, I'll accept the offer, you don't go on a tangent and talk about the weather or talk about ESCOM or talk about the state of the nation. When he says, listen, I accept the offer, your papers should be out, you should be asking for their IDs, and you should be asking how they're married. You must know when to close. This can go for closing for an appointment. This could be closing for an appraisal. This could be closing for an inspection. And this, of course, ultimately, it pertains to closing the transaction. You need to know your contracts. That's a super skill that I realize is not evident in other agencies. Is a lot of them don't know their contracts. And we've got Quibus Cricket that teaches us how to put our contracts together successfully without problems. So there we close when clients agree. In other words, he says, I want to close, you close. Get commitments. This is a super skill. You get commitment from the buyer and the seller. We've agreed on this price, we've agreed on the timing, and we've agreed on how we're going to finance it. You need to get commitment from both parties. And of course, you need to find solutions for concerns and challenges and then close again. I want to say that again. You need to find solutions. Sometimes it's just a little stone and you just see a mountain. Oh, the guy's got an issue with the electrical certificate. The guy's got an issue with the building plans. That's all part of what we do on a day-to-day basis. So your super skill here is, let's have a look at this, Mr. Seller. Have you got plans? No, I haven't got plans. Let's discuss this with the buyer. Maybe it's not a concern for him. And if it is, we're going to have to get the plans from the municipality, or you're going to have to draw them up. Find solutions for concerns and challenges. This is part of your closing skill. And then you close again. So we sorted it out, Mr. Seller, Mr. Buyer. Can we move ahead, and can we set an occupation date and registration date for the future? So quickly, roles and responsibilities in summary. And I've got a couple of minutes, and then I want to open up the floor for question. But basically, you have a role as an estate agent, and this refers to your position. And your position is that you are hired to do sales in this company. Your responsibilities are your tasks and duties. And we've just looked at four specific tasks and duties that need to be part of your daily responsibilities, and that is planning, and prospecting, negotiating, and closing. Now, every one of these, I mean, I've really simplified it today. I just want to get the seeds into your head so you can understand that, hang on, I'm not a great planner, but I need to get that skill. I'm going to talk to my manager, or I'm going to talk to one of the successful agents. I'm really struggling with prospecting. How do I start prospecting? Where do I start? And of course, what's very interesting, if your manager is not a prospector, it's going to be a lot more difficult. And then you may just have to go out and look at YouTube videos. There's guys like Ricky Carruth. There's guys like Tom Ferry. Highly recommended guys. We use a lot of their training to get our agents into the prospecting mode. And our interns spend 80% of their time in the market prospecting. There is no other way. In fact, I actually want to say, and I'm saying this to the managers out there and to the interns, is we've looked at the competency skills that the EAAB requires of us in terms of logbooks and NQ4s. We've actually put that on hold for 6 months. We put our agents now into the field for 6 months. They're not allowed to touch an academic situation until they've learned to prospect, because what actually happens is they get so involved in the academics that they don't prospect. And then what happens 6-7 months down the line, we've got an unhappy, broke real estate agent. So we basically say, listen, let's start the prospecting. Quibus now are tough on our guys, but we're tough on them for a short time, and then we've noticed that they get their own momentum. So we've designed a program, Quibus and myself, which is called Beachhead, and that's how to penetrate an area in a very systematic, gentle, serving way, and it's been super successful. And if Quibus gives me an opportunity in time, I'll share a Beachhead opportunity with you guys. It's really simple, but it's the principles that have to be put in order to take an area and to make you confident in prospecting. So that's just the issue of prospecting. And again, negotiation. Negotiation is a huge subject. But for you guys, what you need to know is that you need to get the client on your side and build trust. That's the key aspect of the prospecting. Remember, prospecting, you're a stranger. Through the negotiation process, you become a friend. And when it comes to closing, you're actually becoming their confidant or their agent of choice. So in short, these are the four different stages that you're going to go through as a real estate agent, but they're also your key, I want to call them your key success factors or your KPIs or KPAs that need to be in place. You need to have planning skills. You need to be a prospector 80% of the time. Negotiator will follow from prospecting, and closing will follow as a result of good negotiating. That's just really in a nutshell. I hope that has helped you guys just to sort of get a different understanding. Bruce Lee said, and one of my favorite characters, he said that the successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus. And I do believe as a Harcourts team, we're able to get laser focus. I do believe that we've got, on a national level, we've got tremendous resources. The new hub is just giving you information that you can pass on to clients. Incredible platform that you've got great BDMs, Quibus Low being one of them. Quibus's door and phone is always open for help, and if he can't help you, he's going to refer you on. And of course, you've got your local managers and you've got your top producers in every team. Lean on these guys. Ask them to help you through those 4 different responsibilities that you have, and get that laser focus. South Africa, the world is in a very interesting place at the moment, especially in real estate. We don't know what the future is going to bring. One thing that COVID taught us is that nothing is certain anymore, and that our world can change in a moment. But you've got an opportunity now in the Harcourts group to go out and make a difference in the communities, and to be consistent, and to just find those opportunities that will make you successful. You need it, your family needs it, your grandkids need it, and your company needs it. And you're in the best place to grow, to learn, and to be successful. So guys, I hope that I've just left you with a little seed today. I hope you understand the differentiation between your role as a salesperson and your responsibilities relating to that role. And I trust that this is going to make a difference and just give you guys a gentle nudge or a gentle shove. Some of you need a real good push back into the market, back into prospecting. And as I said, if Quibus gives us an opportunity to share the beachhead, we'll be able to share with you a way that's non-threatening but incredibly fruitful in terms of prospecting in your neighborhoods. And it can be any neighborhood, and you can be an agent for 20 years or an agent for 20 days. The process works every time, and we've got the proof, we've got the evidence to prove that. So guys, that's where I'm signing off. Thank you for your time. Again, Quibus, thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to open up the floor now for any Q&A. I might just have to slip back to some of the slides, and I'll try and answer as best as I can. But yeah, over to you. Thank you, Quibus, and thank you, team. And good luck for the rest of 2022.
Hey, Leigh, thank you so much. Let me just also open up my camera. You can stop actually, you want to leave the slides up if you need to refer back to the slides. But first of all, I just want to, before I thank you, let's hear questions from the floor. I know that we have a lot of you guys joining in. Any questions, anything that you have on your mind this morning, it doesn't need to relate to the content that Leigh shared. Any one of you are welcome. Letitia Skalkwyk, wat sê jy, wil jy vir ons ietsie vra? You're welcome to post any of your questions in the chat box, guys, and we can read your question, and Leigh will be very happy to answer that. Jan Sirgel, wat sê julle? Ilani Legrandsie, anyone is welcome to ask a question.
I hope I haven't pulled the carpet out from underneath you, but I'm sure that what I'm saying is pretty logical, and every one of you know that this is a process you have to follow. Maybe you just didn't see it in that order, and today you can you can introduce yourself to a new mindset that's going to make a difference in your real estate career.
So there's a question from Leigh. Can you read the question there in the chat window? You mentioned the document 10 something, which the agents use with their manager principal. Just confirm that, please.
The 10 something which agents use in their manager. That might be the fierce intent. And again, I want to encourage every one of you to get that document from Quibus or from your manager, complete the document. It really is a thinking process. And I know that my agents come to me and they say to me, but what do I put in here? What do I put in here? And then I encourage them to read it through carefully, to work it through, because it doesn't help I give them the answers, because I don't know what their goals and their aspirations are. But Leigh, you mentioned a document 10 something. Sure, I'm not sure what that is, but I can flip back on my slides. If you can remember, you can just let me know.
I'm just typing in something here with my email address. Guys, you're welcome to email me and I will gladly send you that document around the fierce intent. So just take down my...
I'm not sure this is the document that you're referring to, but again, I'll make these notes available to Quibus. Again, it's just your differentiation. I'm not sure if this is what you're referring to.
Oh, cool. No, Yolandi said that that's it. Maybe the fierce intent. There was also a question, Tabang was here, is it possible for us to get in communication with either one of you to harvest more experience knowledge? Tabang, you're welcome to contact me. My email address is down the bottom. You can pop me an email or you can just call me and we can speak. Gladly, and we can help you with wherever you need help.
Guys, real estate is a very, very exciting process and can be incredibly beneficial if you do it right. And I've been an agent since 2002. And in those days, and I sound like an old guy over here, I mean, those days we still had tin boards, we advertised in the smalls in the newspapers, and we didn't have the leverage or the access to communication and tools like we have today. You guys that are new in the industry, you've got more tools than have ever been available to any generation before you. So the result is that you should be successful a lot quicker. And I do believe within the Harcourts family, you've got tremendous resources that can accelerate you. So yes, let's harvest more knowledge. You've got tools and the internet and the new hub, and you've got great BDMs. So use those resources to accelerate your success. We live in very, very exciting times, and I think it's an incredible time to be a real estate agent. You know, whether the interest rate goes up or the interest rate comes down, we always have business. The best thing we have in our favor is inflation. The more expensive the properties become, the more money we make ultimately. The big thing is just don't cut your commission.
So talking about inflation and interest rates, Leigh, you have seen it all in the 20 years that you've worked in the business. With interest rates, really, I think you missed the time where late 90s where it was around the 24% or so. I think you entered the industry just after that.
Yeah, I think we've seen as high as about 22%, and the market was completely overvalued. It was a property bubble. But you know, we did so many sales. I remember during that time, there were times when we were selling as much as 13 properties a month for guys just to get out of the market. And it was an incredible time, a very sad time for your sellers, but a great time for agents. But again, you know, we're always that Mr. Fantastic. We always remain flexible. The opportunities will always be there in real estate. Real estate never dies. And my principle always says that a brick today will always cost you more tomorrow. So anybody buying a house today will invariably over time make money, but ultimately people will always move. They go through that transition, their first house, then the kids, then the bigger house, and then the downscale. And we're there to catch those balls, and we should be there with a purposeful plan and laser focus.
Wow, absolutely. Guys, any last question for Leigh before we sign off? Okay. Okay, so the question from Hilda is, where did you say, can I find some dialogues when we prospect? Do you want to answer that, Leigh, or can I answer?
You can answer, and I'll add to your answer.
So on the hub, under learning, you can just enter the keyword scripts and dialogue, and you can find examples of script, different forms of script, you know, your prospecting script, your negotiation script, etc. So just have a look there. What would you like to add to that, Leigh?
I think you'll also find more information in the Harcourts the Harcourts sales manual, which I think is available in a hardcover or soft cover to everybody. Further to that, if you just go onto the internet and you go to Tom Ferry and you subscribe to Tom Ferry, if you become part of his group, and it's free, you can download scripts and dialogues which are relevant today, which they continually feel in the marketplace. They continually give examples. So scripts and dialogues are very easy to find, but practicing them That's the challenge. And making them your own and then using them. That's the challenge. It's easy to find scripts and dialogues in real estate.
Right, right. Okay. Any last questions, friends? I see that some of you are signing off. I think we can wrap it up. We can call it a day. If you, while you maybe think of a last question, Leigh, from my side, man, you are so passionate about your purpose, your love for people and your love for teaching and your love for your clients and your love for your agents and your passion for Harcourts. Thank you very much. And we have so much respect and appreciation for you. And we absolutely love working with you, man. You are just such a wonderful member of the team. And we've had the pleasure of working together for many years now. And we look forward to working together for many, many more years with you. Guys, I know that Leigh is an email away. If you want to pop in an email after this session, you can find his details on H1. Under the directory, you can search for Leigh de Wet, and you will find his email there. It seems that he might be typing his email in the chat box, but you can just on H1 under directory find his email there. You know where to find me, also under the directory under Cobus Low, and chat to us if you need anything. There's Leigh's email address. But Leigh, thank you for sharing these very interesting insights around our responsibilities as sales agents and unpacking it for us so nicely, looking at these fantastic four. And it really makes so much sense. And it just gives a little bit more clarity around our roles and responsibilities. Thank you so much for your time. And guys, to all of you, thank you for signing in this morning. I'm glad that you enjoyed the session. We wish you continued success and look after yourself. And maybe there's a last word from you, Leigh.
I think if I can encourage you guys, everything that you need for success is already inside of you. All you've got to do is keep growing personally, keep growing in the sales field. In other words, there's so much information out there. Read, grow. Don't let a day go by where you don't try and learn something new about your industry and how to become better at what you do. I do believe there's a massive vacuum for well-trained, competent, honest, caring agents out there. I do believe that fast, hard sell, the old aluminum salesman, hard close, hard sell, and it's only a one-win situation. Those days are over. And if I can really encourage you, if you're a person that has a heart for the people and you put the interests of your clients first, you can and will be successful. So I want to encourage you, keep growing, keep learning, and don't stop prospecting. That's my final word.
Amen. With that, we close it for today. Thank you, Leigh. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful Wednesday. Look after yourself. And we will make all the information available to you, the presentation and also the recording, the slideshow. Thanks, Leigh. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thank you,
Cheers,
Cobus.
everyone.
Thank you, team.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.